It is another amazing yet spooky night to be a Terp here in College Park as we bring you all yet another Terps Esports broadcast. My name is Alex, aka Gumi, and tonight I am joined by
Quinton, and I'm super thrilled to be here tonight for week 5 of some Overwatch Terps Premier action.
We've got a lot to cover in our pre-show, including an exclusive interview with one of the older faces on our Premier team, actually, our tank player, Tony.
But before we get into the action, let's go over the details of tonight's Overwatch 2 match.
The Terps are competing in a best-of-5 against the University of Akron. This is UMD's 5th regular season match in the Play vs. College League, and with last week's convincing win against Rowan University, the Terps are looking to add another win to their 3-1 record.
That's right, tonight's guaranteed to be an adrenaline-filled match. But now that you know who we're facing, it's time for us to introduce you to the players of the Terps Overwatch team.
First up, we have the team's hit scan specialist, UGH, on the bench, but he's actually going to be on the starting roster this time around. If we're lucky, we will get to see him hit some crazy shots, like on heroes like Freya, Widow, and Cassidy.
Next up, we have Tango, our team's main support, playing characters like Lucio, but sometimes flexing to Brig or Wu Yang. With Wu Yang nerfed and Lucio most likely banned, I wonder if we'll see Tango tasked with playing a different hero this game.
In the third slot, we have Tony, or our tank player, who we'll be hearing more from later. He is the foundation of the team, playing characters like Ramatra, Zarya, or Diva.
Then we have Funny, our second DPS player. He likes to play fast-paced dive characters like Genji or Tracer.
And in the last seat here, we have PJ, our second main DPS player. PJ likes to play close quarters, high damage characters like Reaper or Genji. With the recent Reaper perk changes, I wonder if we'll see some variation in his play.
And rounding out our starting roster, we have C3, who's playing remote today. He's the team's flex support, playing an array of characters like Kiriko, Bap, or Ana.
And now that you know each member of our team, get ready for an exclusive interview with Tony. We'll be right back with the interview, but in the meantime, enjoy some clips from last week's match, brought to you by the tank extraordinaire himself. Come here. Come join me.
What game audio can I hear?
You're hearing what's being shown in your clips.
Oh.
I promise you're not hearing his audio now. Wrecking Ball gameplay is always a blast to watch. The character is insanely underutilized, but Tony just makes him look so simple. Speaking of which, we've got the man, the myth, the legend with us. Welcome to the broadcast, Tony. How are you doing on this 5 evening?
I'm doing great. I hate playing ball, so.
Well, you know, it was a blast for me to watch, so I hope we see it more from you, but
you won't be
okay
seeing it today.
All right, we will not be seeing ball today. Write that down, folks. But we are now in the 5th week of the Play vs. League, and competition is bound to start heating up. How have you guys prepared for your upcoming match tonight against the University of Akron?
We scrimmed.
Okay.
And then we're going to pick Zarya.
Okay.
And we're going to win.
All right. So what I'm hearing is recipe for winning is you pick Zarya.
Yeah.
And you walk forward.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, got it. All right. I'm going to do that in my ranked games.
Yeah.
Okay.
It works every time, I promise you.
All right. I will keep that in mind. And you guys should keep that in mind at home, too. Also, quite literally yesterday, Overwatch got a patch that switched up some of the tank perks. Now, I know that you said that Zarya is sort of the meta, but do you think that we'll see a switch up due to these perk changes, or what do you think?
No. They didn't touch any of the characters that were actually broken.
Yeah.
So Ball's still broken.
Okay.
And Zarya's still broken. And the rest of the tanks are garbage.
True, true. Okay. So we're going to see some Zarya and some Zarya
Yeah.
with the side of Zarya.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I hope you guys are ready for some Zarya. All right, lastly, if I'm not mistaken, you are the longest running Overwatch player on the Terps Premier Overwatch roster. Take us back a little bit. How does it feel to watch this team grow and change with you sort of like as a centerpiece?
That is kind of weird. Because I came in as a freshman and I was the new guy.
Yeah.
And then now I'm like Unk and everybody else is new. Yeah.
Trust me, brother. I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you there.
It's been cool seeing people grow though. Like Jordan used to be like plat.
Oh.
Zach was diamond, and now they're like both champ.
Yeah.
Zach's almost a champ. So it's pretty cool like seeing everybody improve around me.
You've always been such an integral part of this team. I mean, I've asked players from other teams as well, and they're just like, Tony is just, he's the one player that makes this team so hard to play against. So
It's Zarya.
It's Zarya, yeah. You're Zarya, and back when Ramatra was meta, you had a really good Ramatra. So it's been a blast watching you these past 4 years, and I hope I can get to continue to watch you play. So thank you so much, Tony. That concludes our pre-show for tonight's match. But stay tuned. We'll be right back after this commercial break. We see you in a sec.
And I think by the end of the season, like now, we play together. Everyone kind of jokes around a little bit more and kind of shines their natural ray. We're excited just to see them play better as well.
With the middle school program, the best part has been seeing the moments of teamwork where the middle schoolers really seem to get the game. And so that's when you can see they're starting to get a little bit hooked on how esports can be so fun.
Off game, or will Red turn things around?
Terp Adventures take flight at STAM. Host to countless Maryland events, programs, performances, and more. Feed your body, feed your mind, feed your soul. Let your talents soar. Dance, sing, perform, find your thing. Join more than 800 student organizations and clubs. Find community here. Leadership lives here. Art thrives here. With space to grow. We're all just kids at heart. Let your imagination fly. Compete. Play. With wings on our feet. Here your spirit can fly. Here your soul lifts up. Here you remember those who came before. This is STAM. This is the Center for Campus Life, where Terp adventures take flight. You belong here. Come fly with us.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the studio. We are now in the casting closet. So Quentin, as we came into the closet, we heard the Terps Overwatch Premier Team discussing the bans. And you know how Tony said that Zarya is basically your win condition. Well, guess what? Zarya is banned. So we will have to see some variation from the Terps. You know, they love playing that Zarya. They love playing that... what else are they playing? I guess playing Ramatra. Ramatra is not so good right now. So we might be seeing a Wrecking Ball, despite just how much Tony hates it.
Yeah, Tony does love his Ramatra. He loves playing it, but unfortunately, he might not be strong enough to really compete in a competition level like this. But, you know, Tony's strength has definitely been... He's been good at, like, adjusting. Variability, you know, we might see some D.Va depending on the map, depending on our game modes. You know, he's been very strong at switching off Zarya. You know, we might have a little bit of a stream sniping debacle on our hands.
Oh, I doubt it.
But I think Tony will be fine, yeah.
Yeah, I think Zarya is just strong. I don't think anyone's actually stream sniping.
For sure.
And if you are, you should leave the stream. But... yeah, I'm excited to see. Honestly, I'm excited to see some D.Va gameplay. I do love me some D.Va, especially when Zarya is banned. D.Va becomes insanely strong, just because, you know, Zarya is the most strong counter against D.Va. Sure, D.Va counter matchup is, I guess D.Va sort of counters herself, but, you know, I'm not going to put too much thought into that. But looking on the other side of things, looking at our DPS characters and our support characters, we do know, as we mentioned in the pre-show, Wu Yang has seen a nerf between now and, I guess, yesterday, literally yesterday. So we'll probably be seeing less Wu Yang, probably more Lucio, if it's not banned, which Lucio does tend to get banned. So, damn, these hero bans really throwing a wrench in everything.
Yeah, you know, it really forces teams to adjust, and, you know, it definitely also gives an advantage of doing your research, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, coming in, knowing who you're playing, what they're good at, and trying to, you know, throw them off as much as possible. I know the Terps, I'm pretty sure we're banning Baptiste, so that's really going to change up, you know, the support stuff. And we're coming in on Antarctica.
All right, Baptiste and Zarya bans going into this first map, Antarctic Peninsula, King of the Hill, and Akron Blue already showing a really interesting team comp. Whoa. We're seeing, actually, literally all of the nerfed characters right now. We're seeing Tracer, we're seeing Reaper. Tracer and Reaper have both seen changes to their perks. So we'll have to see how that works out for Akron Blue. But the Terps are running this, if they're going to stick with this comp, they're running like a Junker Queen Brawl. And Junker Queen has also seen some changes with her perks. She got her Rampage, with this, which is her ultimate, on her major perk. It no longer resets her cooldowns, which is a major nerf. So the fact that we're seeing Tony on Queen is very interesting. I'm really curious to see how this is going to work out for the Terps.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting lineup. A pretty typical team besides that Junker Queen. You know, it's very interesting.
Oh my gosh.
But that is going to be that first pick right there. A team effort coming in. Tony.
Oh my gosh.
Really just going in there, getting that ball too.
Oh my gosh. This just walking in the back line. They do not care. Tango speeding Tony in, and that's going to be a very easy first point capture for the Terps. Akron Blue back to the drawing board with their ball comp here. Yeah,
no, a very convincing first start. Just the Terps running in super aggressively. You know, that's the strength that comes in with playing Junker Queen, playing a Junker Queen based team. You know, fighting very aggressively, brawling in there really heavily, and you know, it worked out very well. A quick taking out of the entire team, getting that first point cap.
Yeah, you know what they say, it's hard to dive into a brawl, and I think that's what Akron Blue is intending to do. But Romero on that Wrecking Ball already dropping below 50% HP even before the engage actually happens. PJ dropping low, but gonna back up, get healing from his teammates, and Tony looking to brawl in this tiny room, forcing the Wraith form on Flashbang, walking forward, hitting the knife. Where'd he go? Nobody knows, and he's out. But as Tango falls in this fight, percentage is still ticking up on the point, as UMD's backline is actually going to be the first to fall in this fight. But PJ answering back with 2 kills of his own on both DPS, and Funny barely able to finish off the Wrecking Ball. And Akron Blue, with both these support players having to do the support shuffle, 55% and counting on the point.
Yeah, you know, UMD, again, another pretty convincing fight there. You know, really using that brawl to their advantage. You know, using some of those limited close quarter spaces and really just trying to counter that dive, especially with the ball there. It's just so easy to get caught off guard, so they're really trying to counterplay against it.
Agreed. With the ball, it's so imperative that you guys play together, and unfortunately, I don't think Akron Blue is doing that. As Funny is going to find Sebi Webby in the back on the Wu Yang. Ooh, Pulse Bomb is going to find Tango, but it is... Oh, that is dirty. Dirty, PJ, I say. Taking out the Tracer, chasing down the ball. 89% and counting. If this ball dies, they might not have a touch. And Akron Blue, 4 ultimates on the round. Haven't used a single one except for the Pulse Bomb. 97, 98. Here comes the Wu Yang ult. Touch comes out. Here comes the fight. Blade and the Kiriko ult comes out from PJ. Here comes the Rampage. Tony not finding a single person, but gonna get the knife on the Kiriko. Take her out. Now, Minefield coming out. The stick and the Lucio beat coming out for the Terps. And I think it's too little too late for Akron Blue. An ultimate spam coming out at the end. Literally, we just saw 10 ultimates get popped. And the round will go over to the Terps. First round on Antarctic Peninsula.
Yeah, a very great first round for the Terps there. At the end, you know, just a real ultimate rush.
Oh my gosh.
They were very good at, you know, keeping those initial fights quick. And so by the time that ultimates were up, it was that last, you know, fight. They had 90% and they had that ult advantage. So really great first plays from the Terps here. Very aggressive playing and very coordinated too. They're very, you know, this has been their strength always throughout the whole season, is working together as a team. And it seems Akron is kind of struggling, you know, to be super coordinated on their side, and the Terps are really taking advantage. And it was just, you know, a little too hard for them to fight against. But moving into point 2, we've got same kind of team comps going up. We'll see how they adjust, how, you know, if anything will be different, you know, without changing those team comps.
The only change we are going to see is Akron has swapped over to that Lucio, that very trusty Lucio, instead of the Wu Yang. You know, those nerfs maybe really coming into light here. But as the Terps walk onto the point, we are also going to see PJ on this Mei as opposed to the Genji, giving them a lot more brawl power. But C3 is actually going to be the first to fall to Sweaty's Tracer in the backline, which means the Terps are going to proceed without their main healer. But it seems like they don't care. They're just going to walk forward, take out Flashbang on the Reaper. Tango's going to fall too, but we've seen the Terps win these 3v4s before as PJ answers back with a headshot on to Max's Kiriko. It's still winnable for the Terps. Ooh, beautiful knife, pulling the Lucio in, just poking down, just trying to survive, waiting for their healer to come back. And it looks like C3 will make it back to the point in time.
Yeah, no, the Terps really good at stalling for time, stalling to get their teammates back. You know, and keeping that cap. It's important to note that they had that first cap the whole time. You know, they were put at a little bit of a backstep, but they were still able to hold that point there and keep, you know, getting that percentage while they were waiting for their team to get back. And Tango and Tony going in.
Oh.
Getting two. Tony
oh my
picking
gosh.
up another.
He makes this Junker Queen look disgusting. Oh my goodness.
Look at that. That just... His knives have been on point so far today, but that was something else. That was a real nice shot.
Oh, and we're going to get a replay.
Yeah,
All right. Just watch how swagalicious this knife is. Boom.
Boom.
Oh, amazing.
Tracer might be the hardest character to land a knife on, but for Tony, it's nothing.
Yeah, for Akron Blue, something needs to happen. Something needs to change. And it looks like they're going to change Romero onto that Orisa. But the Orisa pick is not going to stop the Pulse Bomb from finding Sweaty in the back line. And out comes the Kiriko Rush. And the Terps march forward with the Mei and the Junker Queen. Akron Blue desperately trying to stay alive, but it's not enough. And once again, all of their players will find themselves back in spawn. 80% and counting on this point.
Yeah, UMD doing what they do best. Playing really aggressively, really fast. You know, they have a bit of a habit, especially on this point specifically, of pushing the enemy team back into their spawn and keeping them there. And, you know, they've been really good, and they've got good ult management right now. They've got 3 ults to Akron's 2. You know, that's part of the sacrifices of changing up the team comp mid-round, is losing some of that ult percentage.
Oh my gosh, huge plays coming out from the Terps. Unfortunately, the Mei Blizzard did get absorbed by the Orisa, but the Kiriko ult got popped, and because C3 hit the headshot on him, the Kiriko was unable to ult, and that is going to be a very convincing last fight for the Terps, taking this first map on Antarctic Peninsula. What a beautiful performance from the Terps.
Yeah, that's game 1 right there. Really quick, really decisive. The Terps just playing very aggressively. Here we have a play of the game from PJ.
Mei play the game. Okay. Not usually something you see so often, but PJ making this Mei look honestly amazing. Hitting a bunch of headshots. Like, that is an amazing fight, especially when the Terps were on the back foot in that specific fight. I mean, actually only a 1-kill play of the game, but you know what? You'll take it, I suppose. It was a very impactful kill, though, to be fair. With that Kiriko going down, it gave the Terps enough staying power to stay in that fight. And so, you know, I guess it is play the game worthy.
Yeah, it wasn't the most flashy, but I will say it was pretty impactful. You know, the Terps were on the back foot. Then I think it was like 2 or 3 of them against almost a full Akron team, and they didn't really have any supports to help them. And so it was really just about stalling for time and poking out, and I think he did a really good job on that.
Yeah, for sure. The Terps, I've sung their praises about this for forever, but they really know how to do this ebb and flow kind of game. And that's not a Wu Yang pun. I mean it in the sense that they know how to go in and out. They know when to push forward. They know how to back out. They know when they lose their supports that they can't play just so aggressive, but they know how to put enough pressure on the opposing team in order to stop them from pushing forward. It's a very delicate balance, and the Terps, they walk that wire perfectly.
I definitely agree. They definitely do. You know, really being able to recognize when to go in, when not to, you know. And a lot of the times, you know, we see that, and they're very good at it. I mean, with this match especially, they knew pedal to the metal, you know, just full aggressive, keep going, no stopping. You know, there was only a few times where they really recognized that they needed to push back. And like with that play there, they recognized that they needed to kind of go back into each other and kind of, you know, push back. And that allowed them to keep the point and get enough reinforcements to win that fight in the end there.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're very good at that, and I really have enjoyed seeing them be very aggressive today and really taking advantage of, you know, playing against a dive kind of comp with that Junker Queen there. It was really great to watch.
You know, Junker Queen is notoriously good against these dive comps, so I do think it was good on Akron to switch off of that Wrecking Ball after the first round, after it didn't work, simply because Queen can sort of just counter a dive by clicking her shift button, and everyone just gets 175 shield, and then they're basically unkillable. So good on Akron for switching. Unfortunately, it was not enough in the end. That Orisa switch is also decent. I'm not too caught up on what Junker Queen, what her strengths and weaknesses are. You don't see her all too often, so it was definitely a blast to see her right then. But I know Orisa fares a little bit better into her than most other tanks, but I just don't think Akron was able to mount a proper offense. They just kept getting dove by the Tracer in the. Honestly, it was just the Tracer in the backline. No one could deal with, I believe it was Funny's Tracer. So the pressure from the Terps is a lot. It's great. And Akron needs to figure out how to deal with it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, switching to Orisa was good. You know, she's got that javelin spin. She can, you know, reinforce herself, stop any movement from pulling her in any direction. You know, it could have been nice maybe see something like a Diva. The defense matrix can really deal with that knife super well. But, you know, Orisa was a good pick. But again, yeah, the Terps, it's counter-picking off of one hero is not really going to be enough.
Yeah.
Because they've got another one who then becomes a thorn in the side. And, you know, it becomes this chess match. But the Terps are really good at kind of enveloping you in a bunch of different things that you want to kind of counter against. But you can't counter against all of them at the same time. And so it looks like we're going to be moving in also to Gibraltar.
Yeah, Watch Point Gibraltar. This is not actually a map that you see all that often. Usually when we pick Escort, we probably see something along the lines of like, ooh, actually I can't even think of what we would see. You know what, never mind. But Gibraltar is not a map that we see often, so I'm actually really excited to see this map. Because this map has notoriously been known for its Widow gameplay, its Winston gameplay, and its Tracer gameplay. So I'm really excited to see that because, you know, a Widow 1v1, you know, I haven't seen that in a while. She's not the greatest character right now, but, you know, if we can see some UGH Widow, I'm looking at the camera, but they can't actually see me. But I hope we see some.
Yeah, no, Gibraltar is definitely a place where a lot of the most classic Overwatch moments have happened, and, you know, we could be open for some new ones, you know, especially on the beginning, that first checkpoint, just so many open spots, just such a long open lane. So I would be really excited. It looks like UGH is going to be coming off the bench here. So we're going to see some hit scan, hopefully maybe some crazy hits, because, I mean, hit scan especially is where you get a lot of those really flashy, really fun moments. Whether it's like Widow or even Sojourn, you know, a lot of those one-hit kills just are really great to watch. So hopefully we'll see some coming into this match.
Yeah, I'm also just like, this map is very dive favorite, and dive is always a blast to watch. It's very chaotic of a game, but it's always fun to watch. And also, we're seeing Ana's on both sides of the field right now. Ana actually received a, I don't want to say a massive buff, but her major perk did get changed. If I remember correctly, if she hits a headshot, now it accounts for 2 times damage as opposed to 1.5, which is huge if you're playing an offensive kind of Ana. And there's C3 playing from home. He's kind of a floating head right now, but that's the GOAT right there. So let's see how Ana fares on the Terps defense.
Yeah, and we got to thank C3. You know, he's feeling a little under the weather, but he's still able to make it in the game remote, so we got to thank him for that. And here we have the Terps coming in with that Winston, that dive. Looks like Akron is going to stay with that ball. You know, hopefully things go a little different this time, but we'll see how it goes. And they're also not packing any hit scan, it looks like.
Oh my gosh.
You know, we've got UGH on Freya, but they don't seem to have anything to kind of counter that.
Yeah, unfortunately, C3 will be the first to fall in this fight. Too, Max is Kiriko. Probably a long-range shot there, but Tango on this Brig. You know, I haven't seen Brigitte in forever, but she will actually be faring very well against this ball to keep her backline alive. And although Akron has found the first pick in this fight, the Terps have stalled the cart underneath the bridge. Tango is actually going to be the second one to fall. There's his body flopping right in front of Funny. But it looks like the Terps are actually going to take this fight to the cart. They realize that they can't keep giving up progress like this, and Akron is only going to keep setting up if they give space. Oh, but C3. They can't keep being isolated like this against this ball.
Yeah, no, they like ball counterplaying against that. You really got to play together with, and it looks like Tony is going to be taking some massive damage. Funny is going to fall too in that Tracer mirror match, unfortunately. Looks like the Terps are probably going to be losing this checkpoint, this first checkpoint here. But you know, the change in between the first checkpoint and the second checkpoint could hopefully lead to you know, a better terrain for the Terps here. It's going to be a little more close range, you know, a little tighter.
Oh
but
my
gosh.
gosh.
Like Tony is going to come in, and UGH getting 2 there. They're going to try to defend as much as they can the last 4 meters of this checkpoint. And it's only 2 minutes that they got to hold it, so it definitely is a possibility.
A beautiful fight there from the Terps. You would think that the most sensible option would be to jump on the back line like that, but unfortunately, Funny perhaps getting a little bit overzealous there and just going into the back line, going to get taken down. But luckily, it is Tracer, so Tracer will be coming back quickly. But Akron going to take advantage of this, nanoing. I believe the Tracer got nanoed in the back line. Yes, Tracer nano taking down UGH. And now Tony under lots of pressure. So close to this Primal Rage. Will he be able to get it? He will be able to get it. Popping it. Juggling the Ana. Looking for the back line. Distracting them from the rest of the team. Funny finds the kill on the Ana. But the minefield will force the Terps off the point. And that's going to be a first point capture for Akron.
Yeah, no, a good, real sustained attempt by Tony. Trying his best and, you know, really barely being able to get that Primal Rage. But unfortunately, you know, they had that minefield come out and not enough support on that backside from UMD, so they're going to get that checkpoint. But, you know, this second area is a lot tighter, a lot, you know, more close quarters, so it might fare better for the Terps here. We've got 3 minutes remaining. Here we saw UGH there in black and white.
Why is he in grayscale? I mean, you know, I'd say we're taking it back old school, but Freya is actually one of the newest characters in the game. So, and yeah, she's actually going to be, you know, taken back in time because she's dead. But the nano is going to come out here from Tony, jumping onto the backline, looking for the Ana. The sleep comes out. Oh, it's so unfortunate. Tony, the dive is not going to find anything, and Funny is left to distract this backline on their own. But once again, the Terps have left the cart, and there's no touch. No touch is going to come out for the Terps. Yet another Charlie Niner C9 for the Terps, and Akron actually steamrolling this map. This is a whole different team from what we're seeing.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, the cart is all that matters, and the Terps sometimes seems to have a little bit of a habit of forgetting that. And, you know, we've seen the Terps struggle against things that are very not typical. You know, team comps or maps that you don't typically see. And it looks like we're seeing a similar thing. Tony is going to switch onto that Junker Queen, though, and it seems to maybe be working because that's 3 from Akron down right there. And the ball is just seconds behind.
Yeah, maybe they heard us bad talking them because they decided to lock in for the time being. The switch onto the... Nice. It's a very good stagger on the Tracer there. But the switch on the Junker Queen is very welcome. Like I mentioned earlier, she's a very good character to play against these heavy dive comps. She's very good at sustaining her backline just indirectly with that shift ability. And she's also really hard to take down, especially like by a Reaper. And look, here comes the dash just onto this backline. The Kiriko, 1 HP, teleporting back into Tony's clutches. Unfortunately, UGH will fall in the backline. Actually, Tango's going to fall as well. Those are 2 players falling for the Terps. Tony, desperately trying to stay alive here, sustaining his team for the rest of this fight. Funny, finds his Tracer counterpart, and the Reaper just walking to the cart. Fortunately, the Terps do have eyes on it this time around, and they will take him down. So, successful fight for the Terps.
Yeah, that pressure of the Junker Queen is really overwhelming some of Akron right now. And seems to be enough right now to help change some of the tides. I did get a little scared by that Reaper back there. He got a little bit of progress, but the Terps, they've recognized it. They may be a little traumatized from just a second ago, so they're ready, and they're looking out for it, and that's good because the last thing we want is a C9 to finish this round out.
Here comes the Kiriko rush, and Tango's actually going to be caught out by it. Here comes the minefield as well, trapping the rest of the Terps players in that top right position, and it's enough to find C3 and isolate UGH. They will fall, and now it's only Tony, and he will fall as well. Now, Funny, by himself, just looking for anything, he's actually going to fall too. That's terrible because I don't even know if the Terps are going to get a touch here. The cleanse comes out from Tango, but Tango and C3 both get taken out by a slam from Romero's ball, the nano boost, amplifying that damage tenfold, and that will be the round. 145 on the clock for the enemy team here. I don't know how I feel about that from the Terps.
Yeah, for sure. That was definitely a mixed bag of a round for sure. The Terps really getting kind of overwhelmed by the diveness, the weird and not typical aspects brought in by Gibraltar. That's usually where we see the Terps struggle, is things that aren't typically seen a whole lot, especially team comps or maps that aren't, super common, tend to be where the Terps get, a little struggling with. But, we saw a little bit of a change there with that Junker Queen, and that definitely helped, and they started doing better. But I think the Terps really do need to just adjust. The good thing with this game mode is the Terps have the opportunity to do the same thing right back at them, and then we go to that tiebreaker round, and 145 it's a nice bit, but it's not anything crazy. Sometimes I've seen 3 minutes, 4 minutes, some things that are a little too hard to fight against. But, the Terps are definitely still in it, and, on offense, it's a very different game, especially on this map. So it'll be interesting to see how they change up moving into this.
Yeah, Akron defense not switching up a lot, and I will say I do believe part of the Terps' difficulty is because of this Ana Kiriko backline. While it is not orthodox, it is incredibly hard to dive, and Tony and Funny, their damage is just not enough to out damage the heal that comes out from those two characters. So let's see how the Terps adjust here. C3 actually dropping dangerously low as the Terps try to take space on this top balcony here. Tony just looking to brawl this Reaper. He's not getting a lot of support from his team, having to use his Wraith form, which means the Terps can maybe look for this elimination. But instead, Tony will smartly decide to back up under a lot of pressure. Gonna get healed up by C3 before jumping back in. Wow, Wraith form back up again. A very short cooldown. He will TP out. Terps win control over the cart, but not at the cost of C3's life.
And that's going to be tough for them, losing a pretty essential part of the back line. The Terps are going to have to regroup. This first point, it's really hard when you don't get that momentum going because it's just so hard to hide from a lot of those backlines. And there goes Tango, Tony, and UGH. The Terps going to have to step back, regroup. We got Funny sneaking on all the way back there. But I'm sure he'll come back and regroup with them.
this ball is just putting so much pressure on the Terps backline. It's so difficult to, Brig, you can only do so much as Brig. And, she is the regular counter to ball, but unfortunately she cannot take a pulse bomb when she's not in rally. So Tango will be falling there, but UGH finding his trade. So not down and not out for the Terps. Now looking at the cart, looking to finally get some progress, jumping on the backline. The anti-nade is huge from C3, but unfortunately it will get cleansed. But the stick from Funny finds Sebi on the Ana, and now the Terps are finally getting an opportunity to push forward, looking to get this Reaper, but he will TP out to safety, finally getting progress on the cart.
Yeah, the Terps getting some of that dive synergy to work finally. Catching that back line really off guard. And they're getting some good progress, but they're still going to need to have to push a good bit to get to that checkpoint. We see those mines coming out from the ball.
Oh my gosh. The Winston tickle is so funny because it's really doing barely any damage to the Reaper, but going in on the backline, going to take Sebi on the Ana dangerously low. Back up now out of the Primal, back onto the cart. Out comes the Kiriko Rush, and the Terps have to back off from this. Tango popping his rally to sort of help his team retreat. And the Terps are going to live. Popping the nano boost onto Tony, rushing into the backline, getting the cleanse. The cleanse will come out to save Sebi's life for only a few seconds, but he will fall. And now Tony looking on the cart to take control from this Reaper. The Death Blossom, the solo ultimate Death Blossom comes out and takes down Tony. Out goes the Frail ult. It will not find anything. This is a mess of a fight. And the Terps just desperately need to find something in their favor, but nothing is going to work out that way.
Yeah, no, a very messy altercation. A lot of ultimates just flying out there. And it won't be enough for the Terps there. They've only got about 30 seconds left and just barely, 4 meters there. Tony's going to be switching on to Hazard, hopefully to try to change things up, get some more progress. But we'll see how that works here.
Hopefully the Hazard is able to do something, if not anything, but he's under so much pressure from this Reaper. And his team is getting bullied by the Tracer in the ball. There's only so much he can do to contest this ball. C3 falls dangerously low in the backline. He has to hop out. C3 is anti-nated. They can't push forward. There's 8 seconds left on the clock. The minefield comes out. And Hazard gets pulse bombed. Not enough of charge on his ability to tank the damage. Tango will find the touch with his rally, but the nano boost comes out on the ball and takes him down almost instantaneously. Out comes the Kiriko Rush, and it is looking grim for the players on Terps Esports. Pulse Bomb from Funny will come out, finding nothing. And as the overtime wick ticks down to 0, we're going to see a full hold from Akron Blue on Gibraltar. What an insane game from Akron. This is not what I expected from this team.
Yeah, no, a very, very different game compared to Game 1. Game 1, very dominant by the Terps, very quick, but this one, Akron came out really strong. Here we see a play of the game from Akron's Tracer, at the end of that round there, catching Tony and then catching Tango too. Keeping them to not even getting that first checkpoint. It's very decisive, very, very scary in case of the Terps there. That game mode tends to be a little bit where the Terps struggle, and especially on a map that's different, facing a little bit unusual team comp, tends to be where we see struggle, but it was really a lot more, one-sided than I thought it was going to be.
Last map we said that Akron was not able to mount an offense because of the Terps brawl. But this time around, the Terps were not able to mount an offense due to Akron's dive. So it seems like we're seeing a lot of different specialties from each of these teams come out. And it's really up to the Terps to make an adjustment. I mean, you saw the switch from Winston to Hazard. Winston and Hazard both, when the Reaper is on point, the Reaper is just going to sit there. The Winston cannot oust the Reaper from his position, especially when he has support from the Ana and the Kiriko. So very well played from Akron. It was very fun seeing them adapt to the map as well as adapt to what they were seeing from the Terps. Amazing plays coming out from the backline of Akron. I have to give lots of praise to them. They were living all of the dives, all of the damage that the Terps threw at them, and they were keeping their own front line alive as well. The Terps, unfortunately, their split attention just couldn't keep their front line alive. So going into this next map, the Terps were if we see another dive favored map, we are going to have to see some adjustment from the Terps. Not going to lie, this is not insanely uncommon for the Terps to drop the second map. So I hope it's a bit of a wake-up call. Not to be rude, but so let's get at it. Let's get at it, Terps.
Yeah, it's not something that like we haven't seen. I mean, I know this season has been pretty decisive. A lot of the games 3-0, 3-0, 3-0.
Yep.
But I will say in the one game that we did lose, we won the first map and then lost the second.
Right.
And that's where things changed up. We're going to be moving into our Flashpoint game mode for this next match at New Junk City. The Terps usually pretty strong here, pretty strong on Flashpoint, pretty strong on New Junk City. We'll possibly see more of that Junker Queen. I was really enjoying seeing it. And I felt like they were pretty effective when using that Junker Queen. I mean, that's when we saw the tide shift a little bit in that match. It didn't quite stay that way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we saw a little bit of a change. And I mean, Akron was doing really well at just keeping constant pressure, And the first match, it seemed like a little bit they weren't too coordinated. But then this one, it felt like there was a lot more coordination. They came in with a plan, ready to go, and they just kept a lot of pressure on the Terps, and they weren't really able to keep up. So we'll see how that changes moving into New Junk City, Flashpoint.
Yeah, Flashpoint, especially New Junk City. I mean, it's not from Junkertown for no reason. This is an incredibly scrappy map. We're going to see a lot of that brawl. High chances we're going to see that Lucio, that Kiriko, as well as, maybe even a Zarya if we're not actually seeing the Zarya banned. So maybe we'll see Tony back on his signature Zarya, and I actually do think we are going to see it. Nice. So Tony back on his signature Zarya, definitely one of his more comfortable picks, and definitely one that his team knows how to play around properly. Akron, though, are we going to see a Maga? Wait. I'm kind of obsessed with this pick. Maga used to be so dominant on Flashpoint. Maga, when he first came out, literally dominated Flashpoint. Since then, he's seen a couple of nerfs, seen a couple of changes, so I'm very interested to see how this Maga is going to perform, because most of the time, Maga just kind of happens to be an old battery. So, we're going to see some new map changes too. Definitely more of a widened main area here. But for the most part, the Terps rolling out on this Zarya double dive DPS, as well as the Wu Yang and the Kiriko. So, pretty standard, but I do believe we are seeing a Lucio ban, as neither team has a Lucio, and man, it just speaks for itself. The deflect coming out right back into the massive hitbox of the Maga, and that is going to be the first fight over to the Terps.
Yeah, the Terps are moving into a team comp that they do best.
Hitbacks.
This is some of the Terps' bread and butter here. Moving super fast. A lot of those dive in that Genji and that Tracer. A lot of support. They're really good at this. It is interesting seeing Akron's lineup right now. They're switching onto a Zarya, try to match that a little bit. It might be tough. Tony's a pretty solid Zarya. We'll see how they respond. Yeah. I am interested on their Venture, having a Venture on the team. That's not super common either.
I have heard from the players of the Terps roster that Venture is among one of the most annoying characters to deal with. So let's see how they deal with it now. And Tony, with 2 bubbles, is already going to have 100 charge, and 2 players from Akron are going to drop, and that's kind of all she wrote for this fight. 71% and taking on this Flashpoint.
Yeah, there we go. Terps again, another decisive fight. I mean, what can I say? This is where they do the best.
It's just Zarya, I think. It's just Zarya, I think. The Terps know how to play this Zarya so well. They're in Akron's spawn. There's absolutely nothing for them to do. And PJ with some insane shots on the Genji. First Flashpoint will go over relatively uncontested to the Terps.
And while we were on the subject of Venture, I do want to mention, if anyone was watching stream last week, we interviewed C3 on support, and he did mention that one of his proposed balance changes would be removing Venture. So maybe Akron was doing a little research, getting some counterplay in there. Tony going in, though, taking out one. They're going to catch Tango, but PJ getting rid of their Kiriko. We saw that Kiriko rush come out as well. And that's going to leave 3 ults for UMD to Akron's 2. But Tony almost up on that grab.
Yeah, only one ultimate used there from the Terps. That will be Tango's Kitsune rush. 4 ultimates still on the board for Terps, and 3 ultimates up and coming on Akron's side. And we are also going to see a switch over to Akron's signature ball. Romero, last map on Gibraltar, was dominant on this brawl, but will he be able to stop the Dragon Blade that comes out? Oh, the Wingle will get popped. He's going to dash into the Kiriko. C3 finding both supports with his Wu Yang. And now it's up to him to survive, but he will fall. Will the Terps be able to convert the advantage that he's given them to its fight win? And with the Graviton Surge, I do believe that they will. Down goes Flashbang on the Venture. And now Romero on the ball. I believe he's just going to back out and wait for the rest of his team.
Yeah, UMD, you know, they're having to counter that ball there that they haven't been doing super great against, but worked out well there, though it did cost them quite a few ultimates. You know, they're just left with that pulse bomb while Akron is coming up at 4 ults, not too far away from the 5th.
Out comes the dive onto the Wu Yang. Oh, he drops so low from the minefield in the second, and C3 falls from the dash from the ball. With C3 falling, there will not be enough support to keep PJ alive, and PJ will fall as well. So the three remaining players of UMD smartly decide to back up, deciding that, you know, they forced Venture Ultimate, they forced Kiriko Rush. Now is the time to back up and regroup for the next upcoming fight.
Yeah, that was a time, as if any, that was probably the best time to lose a battle and kind of push back, because they have that 99%. They need to build their ultimates. They need to have Akron use theirs. They're drawing out that minefield there too. Just trying to re-even the playing field as much as they can right now.
Oh my gosh, Tony in the middle of the minefield here. He will get bumped into one of the mines and he will get taken down. 2 players on the Terps actually getting taken down by this minefield. I believe it was PJ and C3. This minefield, this ball is just going huge right now. 75% accounting for Akron Blue.
Yeah, no, that ball has been, you know, one of their strong suits and one of the things that UMD's been kind of, you know, not great at counterplaying. You know, will it be enough? You know, they're moving up onto 99% as well. We see that Wu Yang all come out. UMD's going to need to get a touch.
Oh my gosh, the touch. Okay, Tony going in for the touch. We'll be able to find it. And Tango in the back line will be able to take out the Tracer. Here comes the Kitsune Blade. PJ dropping low, needs to back up to his team, but looking for this ball. Finally taking down the pesky ball that's been battling their backline for the better part of this point. And the second point will go over to the Terps. This is match point, or not match point, this is map point for the Terps. Akron Blue, though, seeing a lot of progress with this ball. It's really up to the Terps to figure out how to deal with it in a more proper fashion.
Yeah, no, the Terps have really been struggling against that ball. They're really going to have to change things up, though I do think it was pretty intentional how they were fighting in that last battle.
Oh, all of the resources coming out to save C3 from the dive, the bubble, the cleanse, and the Wu Yang E. But here comes the second dive and all the cooldowns. Okay, they'll be safe for now. This ball, though, putting lots and lots of pressure on the Wu Yang. The Wu Yang does seem to be the main target, but with all of the peel coming out from his teammates, C3 is just chilling, absorbing all of that pressure. And in the meantime, Akron Blue has fallen. So I do believe we are going to see another first capture for the Terps on this third flashpoint.
Yeah, the Terps being able to get that first flashpoint, you know, they were really going in on C3 there.
Really gunning for him.
Focusing on him. Everybody was going in. But the Terps seem to have adjusted, you know, working against that ball, trying to not get caught off guard. We see those mines coming out.
Oh no, Tango actually being the first to fall in that fight. And although the Graviton Surge comes out, the Terps are unable to convert that ult into a single kill. Oh, the minefield in the flash, and the pulse bomb coming out from Akron enough to take down the Terps backline. And Akron getting control over this point.
Yeah, no, the Akron getting both the supports as the first 2 picks in the fight is just, it's too much to play against. You know, once you lose your supports, it's just really hard to sustain yourself. So, you know, they just kind of eventually at that point kind of steamrolled the Terps there. But Terps are coming back in.
Oh, here comes the Venture ult. One cast, the dash out will come, and the Wu Yang ult cast on to Funny's Tracer will be able to take down Flashbang on that Venture, but Tony and Tango fall in response. Now, it's up to C3 to keep his team alive, but he's under tons of pressure from that Tracer. Ooh. Nice shot. Taking the Tracer down to 1 HP. Now it's up to C3 and the rest and his double DPS duo to see if they can take down this Bleed. And Funny will get taken out by... Oh my gosh, what a shot from the Akron's Wu Yang. What a beautiful shot. And as the Terps trickle back in, 84% and counting on this point, I think we're going to have to see a desperate contest from PJ and his Dragon Blade, finding one. But C3 just barely getting the cleanse. PJ finding both of the supports in the back line, and C3 will fall, but it's enough of distraction to take them away from the point.
Yeah, PJ really making sure to get the point there with those 2 kills. But, you know, the Terps are still going to have to hold for quite a while. It's, you know, 99 to about 60%. They're going to have to sustain. They're going to need to make sure that they can get the rest of their team back on the point. And ult-wise, it's not looking too great for the Terps. Akron has 3. The Terps only have 2.
Oh, this is an aggressive maneuver from the Terps. They've popped the Kiriko Rush, and the Kiriko Rush has been popped in kind for Akron, but Flashbang will be the first to fall. However, we are going to see the point flip over in favor of Akron. 4v5 as the minefield gets popped on top of the point. Tony looking to clear the minefield for his team, but C3 is going to fall as Funny takes down Romero on that ball. Lots and lots happening. Pulse Bomb will come out, not find anything. Tony dropping to below half HP, getting the cleanse from Tango. Tony so close to his Graviton Surge, and no cleanse on the side of Akron, but oh, the point almost getting C9'd here, and Funny desperately chasing down the Wu Yang. PJ will find Flashbang once again in this fight, but he will fall to Max's Kiriko headshot. Tony's Graviton Surge came out and didn't find anything. The Pulse Bomb going to miss by a pixel, and the Terps flipping control back over, and they will find the point. Oh my gosh, what an extended, messy fight, but it does go in favor of the Terps. Third map on New Junk City, going over to the Terps. What a game! Oh my gosh.
Yeah, what an exciting end to that game.
My God.
Here we got play of the game from Romero, the tank for Akron. He's just been a very great ball player. Very hard for them to play against. And there we see it. We see exactly why it happened. You know, it's been tough to play against. And as soon as they switched back to ball, the Terps really started struggling. But they were able to take it out, leading us to 2-1 for our the match score tonight. But yeah, that ending there. Wow, that was an ending.
Ball just whenever I see a ball in the lobby, I know the game is going to get chaotic. There are so many moving parts when it comes to a ball comp, you know, with the Tracer dive and then the ball dive and then the Venture dive that comes on top of that. As it's so hard as a support player, and I really got to give props to Tango and C3 for playing as well as they did, for living as long as they did. They didn't drop a single flashpoint. And sure, that second point got a little hairy in the end there, but they were still able to bring it back. So very well played to the support line of the Terps, C3 and Tango, doing a very good job of keeping each other alive. And, you know, Akron had some success there with their dive, but it just wasn't enough in the end. So I wonder what fourth map we're going to see. Akron is really, really loving this dive. And I do believe the next map we're going to go on is a push map. So maybe we'll be seeing some Esperanza. That's a pretty decent dive map. Maybe we'll be seeing maybe a Coliseo. There's some high ground there. I don't know. But we're probably going to be seeing that dive comp again.
Yeah, and moving into match 4, push, you know, it tends to be something that the Terps struggle with a little bit. And it's, you know, it's a little similar kind of like to Gibraltar, where it can be very, very open and hard to run away. And so we'll see how the Terps fare against that, you know. I mean, near the end there, it was pretty hairy. What I've been seeing a lot that's been a little scary is just the objective of not really paying too much attention to the objective there. I mean, the Akron's Tracer was able to get a sneaky little cap, keeping the Terps at 92, which really put a lot of pressure on, because then it put it on overtime, and you know, the longer overtime goes on, the shorter it takes to end it. So it was a little scary there. And, you know, especially last time we saw a push happen, which was a little, not too long ago, but it's been a little while. Our game that we lost against Warner, that was the last time we saw it. And what I saw a lot happening was just forgetting about that robot.
Oh yes.
You know?
Oh my gosh, yes.
and just letting him go off and get progress. So hopefully the Terps stay focused on that robot, stay focused on like adjusting to some of the things they're not usually used to seeing, because also Push is one of those. It's a short game mode. It's 10 minutes. It's also one that can be a little hard to come back from.
For sure.
Especially with those spawns changing, the more progress they get, it's hard to kind of get your momentum back. So hopefully the Terps come in with that mindset and are ready to stay focused, stay on the mission.
I really like what you said about needing to stay focused on that objective, because, I mean, look, a dive comp, most of the heroes in that dive comp, if you got a Kiriko, if you have a Tracer, if you have, honestly, a Venture or a Genji or a Ball, all of these hyper-mobile characters are going to look to stall that cart for as long as possible. So the last thing you want, if we do see this dive comp, is for them to get a lead. So I'm actually not really excited. I'm actually pretty nervous to see what comes out of Akron. If we see that ball rolling out at the gate and they win that first fight, it's going to be one heck of a climb for the Terps to come back from that deficit. They're just going to keep stalling out that cart. They're going to keep pushing it in the opposite direction. And the Terps probably will... Wow, we're just baiters.
Okay.
We're just baiters. This is hybrid.
What?
We're just baiters. We're just baiters. All right. Disregard literally everything we just
Hollywood,
said. We're on Hollywood. We're on Hollywood.
I guess the order has... The game mode order may have switched up mid-season.
Are we okay?
Because I like it's normally Push. I will say that.
Oh, that's so funny.
But
all right,
yeah,
get baited, everyone. It was actually just it was a Halloween like prank.
Yeah, so this is our spooky prank. We're leading up to as we get up to Halloween, and there will hopefully be games and streams getting closer to Halloween next week and then the week after that, and it'll only get spookier.
Right.
Next time we'll tell you, it's going to be hybrid, and then it's going to turn out we're going to be playing, we're going to play Paladins for the night.
Yes. Wait, I'm so down. I am so down to play Paladins. But in any case, Akron once again on their signature ball, as well as, interestingly enough, we're going to see that Symmetra. I do believe they're going to decide to stay on that Symmetra. Yes, we're going to see the TP up to the high ground, and the Terps going to try to dive onto their backline, but PJ getting stopped by the ball slam. C3 though finding the Symmetra, and oh my gosh, Sebi finding a triple kill on this Wu Yang.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, Sebi was like, they nerfed this character? Since when? But now we are going to see Tony and Funny just desperately trying to contest this point, trying to keep it alive for the Terps. Tony, though, staying alive for the most part, will go down to the slam. But it's enough time to get PJ back, and he will take down the opposing Kiriko. And C3 finds both supports are taken down for this Akron side. But unfortunately, the boop, C3, not able to get to the point. And that's a first fight capture for Akron.
Yeah, very, very decisive, fight from Akron. That ball still as hard to deal with as ever. But yeah, that 3-kill by the Wu Yang, I think, just that's where a lot of that impact is coming from. And I mean, it was just very, very surprising to see.
Yeah.
Maybe those nerfs weren't enough.
I mean, they nerfed his damage numbers. They nerfed his perk a little bit, but I do believe that the Terps are just, C3 just not getting the peel that he needs from the rest of his team, and he's just getting taken down before the fight even starts. Tony trying to go in to stall some capture on this card, but he will also fall, as well as PJ, and now it's just back to the drawing board for the Terps.
Yeah, right now it's not been too good for the Terps. Just a little bit of competing, but then it all ends up the same way. So hopefully the Terps change things up a little bit. They've got still 4 minutes on the clock, and they're already pretty close to the checkpoint. So the Terps are really going to have to try to change things up to stay with it.
Yeah, out comes the slam on the ball, but the amp it up from Tango will keep the backline nice and healthy. I do believe a pulse bomb from Akron goes wide, and Flashbang on the Reaper will be the first to fall in this fight. The Terps have isolated the Wu Yang. He will also go down. Cleanse far too late, but C3 gives his life for the trade. 4v3 here on the point, and as Tony finds the Kiriko, I do think the cart is going to finally stall its progress here in the ball. Oh, getting booped into the county jail. Stay in there. You're under arrest for playing Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, finally being able to take maybe a little bit of frustration out on that ball. Literally arresting him and throwing him in the jail, and then taking him down.
You know, I would do that too. Don't worry.
Yeah, with how
He's
much
a
of
menace.
a problem he's been for the Terps today, I don't blame him. But
Yeah, hopefully they can continue putting him in the jail because he hasn't been thus far. Out comes the Kiriko Rush and the engage from the Terps, and PJ with the Dragon Blade coming up huge, finding 1, finding 2 in this fight. And hey, look, they're all on the cart once again. But the Terps decided, let's turn around this time around, and no C9s today, or at least on this map specifically. They've already happened today, actually.
Yeah, there's already been, I think, well, kind of 2 of them. But yeah, the Terps.
It's okay, it's in the past.
Yeah, it's in the past. Things have been changing, though. The momentum is moving in the Terps' favor, although that was a little scary seeing them.
Oh my gosh, this
back
Wu Yang. He's just running in like a crazy person. The cleanse is going to come out, but oh my god, don't let it happen again. The cart getting dangerously close to the edge of this point, and Tony looking around, seeing that he's in the middle of a minefield, trying to clear it. The Kiriko Rush is going to come out, countered by Tango's beat. Akron in this 4v5 looking desperately for anything to get them back into this fight. Reaper Wraith form will come out, and Tango is actually going to be the one to eke out the fight on the favor of the Terps, finding the Tracer. And Akron, once again, it's very, very close. They have their eyes on the prize, and that prize is the payload. So, whew, Terps got to keep an eye out on that back cap.
It's very close. It's been eking out in the Terps' favor, though, at least. But yeah, that is just scary, you know.
Ooh, like Halloween spooky scary.
Yeah, Halloween spooky scary. Watching them get that not once but twice this round, very close, almost to the checkpoint. You know, that's the worst way to lose something, you know, and you just don't want to see that. So at least the Terps are now going to hopefully be a little more conscious, having it happened a few times already this match.
Yeah, for sure. C3 getting dove there by the Tracer, having to cleanse himself. But it's not going to matter as Sebi sort of gets staggered here. And now we're sort of entering last fight territory for Akron Blue. They do have a few ultimates online, specifically that Tracer Pulse Bomb and the Reaper Death Blossom, which have been huge in the past. So let's see how Flashbang can utilize this ult to get the point across the finish line. Terps not having a lot to answer for it, only coming up on that Kiriko from C3.
Yeah, and here we have it. C3 almost getting hit by that Reaper, but being able to recognize the move. The Terps are being very clearly a lot more conscious of the payload and fighting where the payload is and not trying to keep them back. We see that Kitsune Rush come out.
Oh no, don't let it happen. Point becomes dangerously close to getting capped, and the Death Blossom comes out and finds Tango, but Funny will take him down before he can finish the words. C3 also getting taken down, and the Terps have they've been sort of inside out destroyed by this Akron squad. Tony's gonna fall. Out comes the Desperation Dragon Blade from PJ, but the Wu Yang ult, he's just running at him. The stun will come out. Oh, you hate to see it. Out comes the beat to try and stall, but Tango playing in this minefield will just get bounced around, and he will get taken down as well as Funny. And at the last moment, Akron Blue finding the cap on second point.
Yeah.
Ooh, how do we feel about that?
It's a little tough to see. I mean, the Terps definitely were intentionally playing a little bit more on the payload, but you could see the second that they got a little bit too aggressive, Akron really punished them. And, you know, that little bit of gain was enough to really push it in their favor and take them down. Fortunately for the Terps, they only have to hold for another minute, but it still does not bode very well for them.
Yeah, for sure. As well as C3 falling here at the beginning of this fight. Tony will be able to answer back onto a pick on Sebi. But Tango, as he goes down, I'm not seeing a lot of hope for the Terps that they are going to have to retreat unless they want to stagger. Tony getting cleansed out, but there's so much pressure from this Tracer player and this Reaper player. And Tony, it's so hard to play as against it's so hard to play against a Reaper player as this Winston, especially when your backline is being dove like this. C3 having to teleport in to save his life, dodging the ball, but he's back for more. But Funny walking forward, taking down Max on the Kiriko. 20 seconds left on the clock. Pulse bomb will come out, goes wide. Oh, but Funny finding another on his way out. And I do think the Terps are finally going to stabilize the point here. 10 seconds left on the clock. It's desperation time for Akron Blue. Out comes the minefield and the slam. And C3 holding on to this Kitsune Rush might be the linchpin in this last fight here.
Yeah, there goes the Kitsune Rush, going out to try to make sure it's overtime. So,
oh no, the Reaper ult. Oh my gosh, PJ not able to find anything with his own Reaper ult. That's 2 ults from the Terps out and finding basically nothing. Now it's crunch time for the Terps, but I don't think they're going to get a touch. Clock ticks down, and Akron Blue will cap in overtime. Oh, that is unfortunate to say the least. I do believe Tango, I wasn't able to see his ult percentage there, but I do think he may have died with the beat. You absolutely hate to see that. Oh no, especially an ult as fight swinging as Lucio's ult. Oh, that's not fun. That's not fun at all.
yeah, definitely a tough end to see there. You know, it looked like the Terps were maybe going to be able to hold them before that 3rd checkpoint, but fortunately right at the end there just wasn't enough. And that's the thing, especially with the amount of pressure that Akron can provide, the Terps have just really kind of struggled with that, and holding on to ults has not really worked out well for them.
Yeah, you know what they say, use it or lose it. And unfortunately Tango lost his ultimate for this next round. But it's not all, what's the saying? It's not all, well, obviously it's not all sunshine and rainbows. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's not all storm clouds. The Terps did force Akron to cap in overtime. So if the Terps cap with more than a minute, this map can only be a draw or a loss. Or, sorry, a draw or a win for the Terps side. Draw or a loss for Akron's side. So it's up to Terps to really lock in on this offense. And, ooh, a really fun adaptation we're seeing here. I think if Funny continues to stay on this Sombra, I'm interested to see how they're going to use it to take down Akron Blue's ball.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It could be a good counter against that ball, and we'll see how it frays. But we've seen the Terps adjust pretty well to Akron's playstyle and have started to do better against it. And hopefully, it could be enough for them to tie this up.
Yeah, out comes the TP from PJ. Gonna get bubbled by Tony, and Tony gets booped in by the ball. He goes dangerously low. The hack. Ooh, will get canceled. And Funny. Oh no. The players of Akron Blue knowing well that if there's a Sombra on the enemy team, you need to sit around your ball to stop the hack. But that's not going to stop Romero from going in, kind of overextending there and falling to the Terps. 4v4, but Sombra comes back super, super quickly. And now the Terps are going to start to take space on this point.
Yeah, the Terps getting some cap percentage. It's not quite as fast as Akron's cap earlier, but it is definitely a good sign, a good amount of progress. That ball is going to come back in.
Oh, good hack from the Sombra, stopping the ball in its tracks. Second tick here will be almost gotten by the Terps. The contest is going to come in from Akron. Second tick goes over, but the Kitsune Rush coming out, and Funny will find Sebi on that Wu Yang. And I do believe that's going to be almost all she wrote from Akron, yes. First point capture. Terps had to fight. They had to fight for it, but they finally got it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good sign. There was a decent bit of struggle there, but they pretty convincingly capped the point. Like I said, I feel like they're definitely learning how to deal with Akron's playstyle. It's definitely been pretty tough to deal with, but now that they've gotten some experience, seen a little bit what succeeds, what doesn't, I think they've learned a good bit and are in a pretty good position, especially ultimate-wise. They've got 3 right now, looking at a 4th. So I think it's definitely a good position to start off from.
Yeah, for sure. The Terps fighting a lot of progress here, and they do have a lot of ultimates in their back pocket. However, Zarya on this point, okay, you know what? I'll just steal. You know what? I take it back. I was gonna say that Zarya sort of struggles here on this point, but Tony, he does not care. He's just gonna walk forward with his team, and out comes the Death Blossom. It's a flying Reaper. It's not a bird. It's not a plane. It's a Reaper, and down goes the backline of Akron Blue. And now it's up to the remaining players here to sort of stall out the cart as the cart just goes. I do believe if Akron get another touch here, they can have 2 fights. But we're entering last fight territory on the second point.
Yeah, no, definitely a good fight by UMD. I mean, yeah, Zarya
my
definitely.
gosh,
look at that,
C3.
C3 cleaning up their
Oh,
tracer
that's
like
sick.
that. Ooh, good play by C3. But yeah, Zarya definitely tends to struggle on this point with her limited range. But you got to remember that it's Tony who's playing, so it doesn't seem to matter too much.
Oh. EMP comes out just only to counter the ball, but funny, without the teleport, without the translocator, will be taken down by the Death Blossom Wu Yang combo. And although this Graviton Surge comes out, I don't think the Terps are actually going to find anything from it. That's 4 ultimates gone from the, 3 ultimates gone from the Terps. And Tony is just going to call a spade and swap to D.Va.
Yeah, so that's gonna even out the playing field a bit. You know, the Akron definitely has a pretty good position right now. Tony's moving on to that D.Va. Alt-wise, things are looking pretty similar, but C3 is going to get that Kitsune rush. So UMD could definitely have a pretty convincing fight here. Here comes the rush coming out, hopefully to deal with that Reaper, but
Oh
it
my
might be a
gosh.
little too much. PJ getting 2, both of the back lines for Akron. That's going to be pretty tough for them to fight against.
Oh my gosh, C3 running for his dang life, and he will escape. But he gave enough time for the Terps to sort of, what's the word for it? Take down the back line and the hack from Funny. Oh, the one shot from PJ. Beautiful, beautiful. And with 3 minutes and 45 seconds on this point, the Terps are marching forward to a 3rd point capture. All right.
Yeah, no, the Terps are definitely in a pretty solid position because if we remember, the Akron only capped after being in overtime, so they have no advantage. They have no extra time coming into the tiebreaker. So if the Terps can keep this momentum, they'll be in a really great position coming in on that tiebreaker.
Oh, the hack! The hack is so huge. Romero taking so much damage from the concentrated fire of Terps Esports, and he will be taken down. That is massive. Once again, the ball, the first to fall, and that is going to cost Akron dearly.
Yeah, no, I definitely think this Sombra has been a good pick to help counter that ball because the ball is just such an essential and driving force of Akron's team. So really playing around getting him down is definitely a good move by the Terps.
For sure, and the Terps here looking to facilitate PJ's ult into the back line. The only one online for either team at the moment. Here comes the teleport. Maybe here comes the bubble and the speed. Out comes the ult, solo ulting on that Reaper, finding the one. And now the 4v5 advantage for the Terps as they walk towards the finish line. Romero falling down without using the minefield. This is a huge advantage for the Terps. All they need to do is keep an eye out for the remaining players on this Akron blue side. But with C3 falling, I think the Terps are smartly just going to decide to back off. Or maybe not. Maybe they're going to just take another angle. But with Funny falling, I don't know if they can find much more of an advantage. Yeah, that is going to be the end of that fight. And C3, unfortunately falling there. That was really, really sad. I do believe if he lived, they would have been able to cap that point.
Yeah, no, it's a little tough, but they're still in a good position.
Oh
You
my
see that
gosh.
Kitsune rush coming out. Tony picking up that Reaper.
Oh, Toady. Oh, Toady.
Tony, oh my god.
Oh my gosh. The 4K in that last round. Blink and you miss it. Everyone just melting before his very eyes. And that is going to be a 3rd point capture with 1 minute and 42 seconds on the clock. And do you know what that means? That means that Akron can no longer win this game. Akron are in a position where they either lose or they tie. And we're going to get a replay here. I mean, it just looks so easy, especially with the Kiriko rush. Taking down the ball, taking down the Tracer, then the Kiriko. Oh, even a right click on that Tracer too. Just beautiful, beautiful stuff come out from Tony. He wasn't kidding when he said that Zarya really is the driving force behind the Terps' success.
Yeah, he's moving back to his bread and butter right there. I mean, we saw it clearly. Just once it gets going, just it's over, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we just saw the whole Akron team just get taken down in mere seconds, and he didn't even have to use his Graviton Surge. He just threw it out there at the end there. You know, really great plays by Tony. And yeah, now the Terps are at a really great advantage, a really big advantage.
Oh, yeah.
You know, not having any time is really going to hurt Akron. And they really wanted to depend on the Terps not getting that third cap. But fortunately for them, the Terps got it, especially with a decent amount of time. Not the most, but definitely more than enough time to really change things up.
Here comes the Terps attack. Now we are going to see some switches from Akron, foregoing the Tracer in favor of Symmetra and foregoing the ball pick for Azaria. So perhaps taking a bit, some notes out of the Terps squad, and yeah, Tango is actually going to be the first to fall in this fight. So unfortunate, but Tony will actually trade back Romero. Not enough support for the Zarya on the point. And now the Terps can walk forward and just get space. C3, that is an integral pick. PJ finding Sweaty, finding his Reaper counterpart. And the Symmetra is not enough to stand strong on this point. And the Terps will close it out. A 3-1 victory over Akron Blue. Very well played. GG well played in the chat. Ooh. And glitched play the game. Love.
All right,
Oh.
There we go. Play the game coming out from Tango. Lucio play the game. Not too often you see that.
All right, let's see a Tango. Oh, okay. 1v1's a Tracer in the back line. This is the Frogger gameplay that we've been missing all of our lives.
Just bullying that Kiriko.
Oh, man. For as much as we talk about how Tony or these DPS players make a large impact in the game, we still need to hold space, for these support players in the back line. They're keeping their teammates alive. C3, he picks off the Tracer every now and then. Tango picks off the Tracer every now and then. They're keeping each other alive. GG well played to everyone in this game. What more else is there to say?
Yeah, very well played indeed. Akron really struggled at first, but they came back and really with that ball play just changed everything. And then UMD had to kind of learn and adjust to it. So definitely a really, really great game to see. And I think, a lot of the themes of the match really appear in that last game there. We saw a lot of the strengths of Akron, but then the strengths of UMD, and they're adjusting, they're coming back, they're switching things up, and by the end there we saw, a really dominant last battle. UMD doing what they do best, coming in, being super aggressive, and just taking everything down, pushing forward on that momentum.
And I can't even help but notice, but Akron, as soon as they swapped off of that ball, things sort of fell apart. And I think that also speaks to just play what you know, play what you're comfortable with. Akron looked so good on that ball. But on that last defense, the Zarya Reaper just could not be matched. The Terps were walking forward in a 4v5, and they won that fight pretty convincingly. So lots of lessons to be learned from these games. Very well played to Akron. Yeah, is there anything else you would like to say?
Yeah, play what you know. It's not time right now to practice or learn. The ball was very good and very hard to play against, and yeah, but UMD was able to take it, so props to UMD. That's going to be a 3-1 finish for UMD, bringing our record to a nice 4-1 coming into the season. The regular season is 7 games, so we're 5 games through right now. We've got 2 more coming up, with our last one, I guess, being right before Halloween. So
right.
It'll
Very
be,
exciting.
Keep in mind. look at our amazing decor. It's gonna be spooky.
Beware.
Yeah.
Spooky time. All right. But thank you, everyone, for joining this stream. Oh, and I just want to say one more thing. One-trick players, one-trick ball players, we may hate you, but at heart, deep down, we love you, okay? We love seeing ball gameplay. We love seeing stuff that's not quite the status quo. And something else we love? We love our sponsors. Thank you to Playwire. Thank you to Union on Knox. Thank you to UMD Reckwell. Thank you to Philip Merrill College of Journalism. Oh, that's wrong side. There we go. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. This has been Alex, a.k.a. Gumi.
And I'm Quentin.
And we will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.